Welcome back to another review of She-Hulk, I guess. Oh boy. Earlier today, a friend of mine texted me an image from this episode of She-Hulk twerking, with just saying, "I saw She-Hulk twerking and I thought of you," which is a very kind message, and made me very anxious for this episode. Oh boy, is this an episode? This has been the first episode that I'm mixed on, and I'll try to not sound too harshly critical of it, but let's get into it, I guess. This episode is titled "The People versus Emil Blonsky," and it's his trial episode, which on paper sounds cool and good. And when the show is actually kind of doing that, I'm into it. What's weird about this episode is it is very short. On top of being very short, there's a whole other B plot about an entirely other superhuman law case that's going on with like other lawyer characters that work at the firm that we've barely had any time getting to know at all. So like we don't really care about them at all, which takes up a fair amount of time in this episode. Now the whole trial of Blonsky, of course, was set up in the last episode, and then now we're doing the actual case, the hearing, and it's set up as this like pretty challenging case for She-Hulk to accomplish. For one, he killed a bunch of people, and B, there's footage leaked of the scene from Shang-Chi where he's fighting Wong in an underground fighting club thing, which we do get an explanation from in this episode, which is good. But yes, once again, this show has to clean up other weird things that they did with the Marvel characters from other movies and like make them make some kind of sense, or at least offer an explanation. So it gets a little bit bogged down in that versus just like the actual trial happening. That's like the premise of the show. And we get to see Wong. Wong's fun. I like him. I think Marvel realized at some point that before Shang-Chi, Wong is like pretty much their only Asian character, other than like a few very minor roles and characters on their TV shows, which are they canon? I don't know. So they're like, oh, we better put Wong in more stuff because he's like kind of the only Asian character we have. Until Shang-Chi, obviously, where they introduced multiple Asian characters, so good. Wong's fun. He's fine. He's good in this like he serves his purpose. They explained the thing. He's not in it very long because this episode is already not that long. And then there's like a whole other B plot that's happening on top of like other stuff too. There's a whole subplot about Jen Walters being in the media more now. There's a sequence which I think is actually really clever. We get a glimpse of like all these internet reactions of people just being like, "A lady hero, give me a break," and it's like, okay, good. You're like somewhat self-aware of how dumb the internet is, and a lot of people's immediate reaction to the announcement of the She-Hulk show, which was just people being like, "A lady." Oh man, Disney's really gone woke, introducing women into their universe. Ugh, come on. And it's like, really? That's what you're upset about? Fucking jeez. Get something else to do with your time. Oh man. So like that was clever and kind of fun, but that's like another element of this episode. She-Hulk also makes a joke about, "I promise this won't just be a cameo every episode," even though that's literally been the show so far. But I promise it won't be, and it very well may not be, because there's 6 more episodes of this show, which is why them wrapping up the trial of Emil Blonsky in this episode feels very strange. Because I don't know what the rest of the show is going to be about, which in some ways is good, because I don't know what to expect. But on the other hand, like, really? We're spending 2 episodes on Abomination, and that's it? I mean, he might come back later, but, like, the main thing you set up with him is done, which is also very strange. Yeah, the other thing about this episode is I'm feeling more of the weird-ass Disney Plus pacing, which I've talked a little bit about in my Obi-Wan video. I don't know, I talked about it at some point. Disney Plus has managed to make these shows feel very rushed and also fillery at the same time. And that's like a very specific bad pacing to hit. Usually things are either way too fast and they don't have like enough time to breathe, or there's far too much breathing and nothing happens. But Disney somehow managed to find a formula where things go wicked fast and it feels like we don't have much time to breathe, and also not that much happens. Very weird. But I want to like break this down for a second. So this episode is listed at 35 minutes, which is already kind of misleading because on the episode itself it's a total of 34 minutes and 15 seconds. So I think the like whatever algorithm just rounds it up to the nearest minute. It's already like a little bit misleading. But then you take into account a full minute of recap previously on, and then the 30-second Marvel logo, and then at the end of the episode there's 2 minutes of credits of like the cinematic like credit sequence, and then there's a 30-second joke, and then 4.5 more minutes of credits, which means the actual content of the episode is only around 26 minutes and 15 seconds, which is not that much longer than a normal like 22-minute episode of a show. And those, like, they know that going in, that they have to deal with like commercial breaks and all that stuff, so that the pacing is much tighter in the majority of those sitcoms, and they're even able to often balance multiple storylines at once because it's on Disney Plus and you can make the episode as long as you want. It doesn't feel like the need to balance stuff as well. Honestly, WandaVision did a pretty good job at that. I think WandaVision kind of falls apart towards the end, but in terms of like having an episode of like a sitcom kind of type thing, the episodes themselves are paced fairly well. I think it's more the like overarching stuff that like falls apart, but like the individual episodes, even though I think some of them aren't that good, mostly you like feel like a full complete thing all on their own. And I'd be cool with this show doing that. Like I've been saying since Mandalorian, like I think we need more shows like Mandalorian where you have a full complete story in your singular episode that also contributes to a larger overarching story. Mandalorian does a very good job at managing the pacing of that. Their episodes are exactly as long as they need to be. Some of them go a little longer, some of them are a little shorter, because they're as long as they need to tell the specific story for each episode. And so on paper, like, I should be on board with them doing a singular trial in this one episode. A singular, like, She-Hulk taking on a singular case. But it's kind of already short, and then it also has to balance a B-plot of just a complete other trial fully happening, and then there's like other stuff that they're setting up. At the end of the episode, she fights the Wrecking Crew for like a second, which is kind of fun. I didn't expect to see the Wrecking Crew in this show. They're not as cool as the Nando v Movies version, but it's still kind of fun to see such a goofy set of characters, which is like kind of perfect for a She-Hulk show. We need more like goofy ass mid to D level, like B to D level villains in general in the Marvel universe. So good. So yeah, the pacing is just weird because like the episode is not that long, and it's like this is the one that has the big thing that's like the big first thing that She-Hulk does is this trial. And it feels like it just wraps up really quickly, which because it's so short, like it makes it feel like it was super easy and barely an inconvenience for She-Hulk to win this case. Like her main thing is that she is like, okay, well, Wong seems to know something about this. She talks to Wong and Wong's like, oh yeah, I'll testify. And then he testifies, and that's enough to win the case. And it's like, oh, okay, that was super easy. Like, we don't even really go into any of the, like, kind of interesting character stuff that they actually set up in the previous episode about Abomination working for the government and how he was just following orders and he was kind of coerced into even doing the Abomination stuff at all. Like, none of that even comes up in her defense. I guess because there's just no time to have any of that. And it's like, that stuff's the, like, compelling, interesting character stuff that you would want in your trial to make your defendant seem more sympathetic. Like, that's the stuff that you should be using, and we don't even get to see that. It's very weird. And the other thing about, like, the length of the episode, this is on Disney Plus, so there's no, like, rules on how long an episode can be. Like, they seem to want to have these ones be around a half hour, which I think is a good length. But, like, you can make them longer if you want. Like, there's no reason specifically that they have to be a certain length, as far as I know. Because also, like The Mandalorian, sometimes they'll have episodes that are close to an hour, and sometimes they'll be, like, under a half hour. Just depends on what the story needs to be for the episode. You can have the show be more like a 40-minute show, like regular shows used to be. Which is plenty of time to tell a full story if you pace it well. There's tons of other lawyer-based procedural shows that do that and do it every episode. Some of them do it very well. So I'd like to take a look at this quote that I found. And I haven't read the full article, so we're just going to take a look at this specific quote. This is from Variety. It says, Jessica Gao's original pitch for Marvel's She-Hulk included a trial for the Abomination that spanned multiple episodes. And then this is her quoted, "One thing that we all realized very slowly was none of us are that adept at writing, rousing trial scenes." Okay. So on the one hand, I relate to this quote immensely. I would love to work for Marvel and write a She-Hulk show with all these, like, interesting trials and situations that she ends up in. But I am not a very good writer. I also don't know how to write trial scenes very well. I really enjoy a lot of courtroom dramas and that type of stuff, but you kind of have to be really smart and do a lot of research in order to, like, write those things well. And I am just not very smart, so, like, I don't think that I could do that job very well. So on the one hand, I relate to this quote like crazy. I would love to be able to write really awesome stuff, but I'm not that smart, and probably couldn't, and not without at least spending either a crazy amount of time or a crazy amount of research, or probably some combination. But I don't work for Marvel, so it doesn't matter that I'm not a very good writer, because I'm not writing for a mainstream big show where Jessica Gao is doing that. So, like, what? Secondly, don't tell people that you're not a very good writer. That's it. Don't just lie. Just pretend that you're an amazing writer. You got the job somehow, so either you tricked people or you're less of an imposter than you maybe feel. Don't tell people that you're not good at writing stuff, that you've been hired to write. I don't know. The internet's already a very mean place and will find any reason to, like, make fun of you. Don't give anyone any extra fuel. Don't make haters' jobs easy. At least lie. Like, what? Very weird quote. I feel bad almost, like, just say, like, but they admitted that they're not that good at writing courtroom stuff, and they're working on a lawyer show. I want to give you the benefit of the doubt, but you're making it hard for me to do that. So, like, yeah, I think it would have been better if this trial lasted more than one episode. And yeah, I think that's all I can say for now. Weird pacing stuff blasted through this, like, thing that felt like it was going to be a big deal in the season, and then is just done by episode 3. 6 more episodes. What are they going to be about? I don't know. And, like, on the one hand, I kind of like the idea of having individual episodes just take on a new story, but at the same time, you still have to put some time into the things that are happening. She-Hulk twerks in the end credits of this episode. I don't know what you want from me. It's kind of stupid, but it's the end credits scene, which are usually jokes in this stuff anyways, so this joke is kind of dumb. What do you want from me? I don't have much else to say about that. Not every joke's going to be amazing. Not every thing is going to be perfect. I'm missing Daredevil more and more every day. There's no reason we can't spend more time with these characters in these situations. I don't know. I don't know. This is the one I haven't been on board with the most so far. And I really want to like it because I love the idea of bringing back characters you completely forgot about. I love the idea of a supervillain prison. I love the idea of a super villain trial. I love the idea of fleshing out a character that you thought we forgot about. But it's just like, I like the idea of She-Hulk coming up with a clever way to solve this problem that she's presented with. Like, the most that she does is get Wong to testify. So really, like, Wong kind of does most of the work. Like, she does a decent enough job, like, arguing on his behalf, but, like, there's nothing that only She-Hulk could have come up with that solves this problem that she's in. You know what I mean? I don't know. Now I'm overanalyzing it, and I can't just I can't just enjoy a thing. I have to overthink it. I wish that I could wish away my feelings, but I can't. So that's where we are. I'll see you next week with who knows. See you then.